What's going on YouTube? WILDMAN here, and I'm back in my outdoor gym for a change. Got some time to actually work outside. I'm going to be doing the bench press, and as I'm going up in weight, I'm also going to be adding those chains, 45-pound chains in total to the total weight. And as I'm going up in weight, I'm also going to be doing an explosive movement. I call these sled lat pulls. The idea is just use a lightweight, so it's only 70 pounds, and then just simply try to focus on the movement pattern itself, which is to explode. And then I'm going to do some chest ups with the sled as well in an explosive format. That's going to be the Strength Giant Set for the day. And since Memorial Day is coming up, I got my red, white, and blue attire because I'm trying to be patriotic and represent the United States of America, which is the country that I am from and that I love dearly. But that's just a side note, because for today's topic, I'm actually going to be addressing a question that I get a lot when I'm doing bench press. Usually it's in an indoor gym because out here, obviously, I'm by myself, so no one really to talk to other than my inner thoughts. But I get a lot of questions of why don't I wear wrist wraps when I'm bench pressing, specifically the bench press? Because I feel like when a lot of people go to the gym, that's the first thing that hinders them or is their limiting factor, is that their wrist strength isn't strong. And because it isn't strong, it makes it a lot difficult for them to have to bench press. So they have to wear something like some kind of a support, such as a wrist wrap. Now, you're probably going to hate my answer, and I'm really sorry for that. But the reason why I don't wear wrist wraps when I'm bench pressing is because I don't need to. Just plain and simple. In fact, when I wear a wrist wrap, I actually don't do very well. Now, you'll see that I'm actually wearing a belt when I do bench press. My rule is anytime that I'm going to lift something over 300 pounds, I wear a belt. But that's just for longevity of weight training, because I don't want to keep blowing out my back, because I use my back in a lot of different compound movements. But it does help, and it does help me lift more, and it improves my lifts and keeps my back safe. Unlike wrist wraps, I actually perform better without wrist wraps, and it makes it so I can lift more weight. And my wrists don't hurt or do anything weird from not wearing them. So therefore, I just don't wear them. Now, unlike the log clean and press or the axle continental clean and press, I usually don't wear a belt, which people think is weird. Because unlike the other compound movements where I do wear a belt and it actually does help and keep my back safe, it doesn't help me with the log clean and press or the continental clean and press. I actually lift less weight and I actually feel weirder. So I actually lift without a belt when I'm doing those movements. Now, when I'm doing the bench press, I don't wear the wrist wraps, because if I wear a wrist wrap, it's supposed to protect your wrist, but it doesn't for me. It actually makes it so I lift less weight. So I've just kind of learned to not do it with a wrist wrap, and I've actually gotten pretty significantly good at it. So there's really no reason for me to wear one. And that's just a simple answer. And I'm sorry about that, but that's just the way it's got to be. Now, for the variation giant set, I was doing 4 rounds, and the idea was to do a 6-rep max. But I kind of wanted to push it today because that 340 for 3 moved very easily. So I kind of thought, why not push it? Because this is my favorite movement to do after I'm done with the bench press. I'm essentially hitting my bench volume, improving the bench press, and improving my overhead press, all with one movement. I know a lot of guys that just do this movement, period, and then when they go to a flat bench press, they're actually surprised how much they can bench press, because this carries over a lot. Same thing with the overhead press. Now, the idea was this was supposed to be my top set, which was 255 pounds. I was supposed to do 275 pounds after this, but I decided to push a little bit because I was feeling so good. So this is actually going to be a PR on the incline bench press. So it's going to be 2 reps. I've never done 2 reps before. And it actually moved pretty good. Probably could have eked out a third, but that wasn't the point. And then I just kept it in the same format as the Strength Giant Set by doing the sled lat pulls, because this really works explosiveness, and it's the antagonistic movement that I'm doing. And the chest flies that are also in the explosive sled format. I really feel like this helped with the bench press. Now, for the assistance giant set, just because the sled was here and I had a ton of weights already out, I just decided to not go for like a max pull, but just to go for like a conditioning round. So I basically did 4 rounds. There's my little salutations to the sun pose before I get this going. And I was just moving 300 pounds as fast as I could. So that was 4 rounds total. And then, the worst part is I have to offload that sled when I'm done. And then for the accessory giants, I was doing 3 rounds. Really wanted to hit those triceps. So I'm using that gorilla kettlebell, and I'm doing a overhead tricep extension. And then I did some hitchhikers. I really wanted to make sure I was hitting my back, chest, and tris really hard with the bands. Some chest ups, chest flies. I don't know what those things are called, but by the time I'm done doing them, I definitely feel a burning in my chest. And face pulls. And of course, I'm just doing all of these things to make sure that I'm healthy all the way around. Well, that was today's workout. I hope everybody learned something new, and I really appreciate everybody stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.